last night. Started the back nine, Week 10 opener in Baltimore. And these teams kind of combined for a golf score when they met in Week 5, 79. Most points in a game this season. Baltimore won it in OT. Similar point total last night, similar margin, and a similar winner. Pick things up third quarter. Dan, at this point, Jamar Chase 52 yards. He and Joe Burrow got in a rhythm here.
This is their first snap of the second half, and it's a really good job by Joe climbing up in the pocket. But my goodness, you talked about an absolute dynamite with the ball in his hands. Jamar Chase catch and run.
67 yards to the crib, but next Bengals possession, the other Chase, Brown. First career fumble loss, a terrible time for it. Ravens score off the turnover. They're down 7 after 3. And early fourth quarter here, RC, if Cincy misses the playoffs, they might point to this moment.
Well, because they missed 3 tackles. Cam Taylor-Britt misses. We got Logan Wilson and also Geno Stone loafing to the football. It allows Wallace to get down the sideline for a huge play and touchdown for the Baltimore Ravens.
Tied the game at 21, and after a turnover on downs, make it 3 straight scores for the Ravens. Mark Andrews for the touchdown.
That's really a remarkable route by Mark Andrews to slip over the top of that backer, and a beautiful throw by Lamar.
Hey, but when in doubt, just chuck it up to number 1. 70 yards to the crib, ties the game at 28, and took his time getting into the end zone.
I love it.
Time wasn't really a factor here, but chiseled a few seconds off the clock. We weren't done scoring, though. Ensuing Ravens drive. Lamar Jackson, Dan, with a jump pass?
I don't know. I don't know how he did it. Even watching the highlight this morning, my son said to me, how did he do that? I said, I do not know, bub.
Hey, Ravens had no answers, though, for Jamar Chase. 11 catches, 264, 3 scores. Joe Burrow, 4 scores. He had the Abe Lincoln, but going for 2 in the win off the fingertips of Tanner Hudson. Take another look. A little hand to the face, perhaps.
No,
face mask should have been called.
That's not a perhaps, absolutely.
No, I don't think you call it in that moment. That did not stop Joe Burrow from throwing that pass.
Spoken like a defender. Hey, first loss fumble of Chase Brown's career. I mentioned over 200 touches. Bengals had an 88% chance to win at the time of the fumble, according to ESPN analytics. From that point, the Ravens outscored the Bengals 28-13, didn't miss on third down. The Ravens' 28 second-half points, ties for the most of any team after recess this season. And after the fumble, since he only ran 2 more times for 5 yards and only converted half of their third downs. Mina, let's get you in on this. Telltale heart for the Ravens, tale of 2 halves for the Ravens. What did you take away from Baltimore's win?
Well, you got to start with Lamar, who showed the world why he is the MVP favorite, right? He went 10 for 11 for 162 yards on third down. Perfect passer rating. That's great. What's less great is he needed every single one of those 10 completions because the margin for error on this team is so small. In the first half, most of their struggles on offense were due to the fact that they had drives derailed by penalties. And of course, they overcame that, and Lamar overcame it, as he so often does. But when I look forward to the playoffs and you're going up against teams like the Bills or the Chiefs, I worry that if one of those penalties happens against, say, an illegal man downfield on RPOs, common thing with the Ravens, because the defense is so bad, they won't be able to overcome just a single penalty derailing a drive. He has to be flawless. In the second half, he was. That was enough for this week, but it is concerning going forward.
Yeah, I think the difficult thing is, too, as well, as Mina talks about, having to utilize every single one of those plays as a necessity. We can see things like we saw a couple of weeks ago against the Cleveland Browns, where if Lamar Jackson has a couple of misses, Bateman drops a ball that hits him in the face mask, we can see them losing to an inferior team. What Lamar Jackson is doing is absolutely insane. But also think about the fact that Derrick Henry wasn't the Derrick Henry that we've seen all year from the Baltimore Ravens. And we watched Lamar excel, play extremely well without having that key piece or key cog to his offense clicking. But defensively, this team is going to have to find a way to make more plays and get some stops so that Lamar Jackson never has to press, so that Lamar Jackson doesn't have to continue to try to make that extra play and is allowed to play within himself, because right now there's no football player in all of the world playing better ball than Lamar Jackson.
But it's interesting that a defense that gave up over 500 made the play.
Yeah.
You know, and you mentioned this in the green room before. A couple weeks ago when they have the win, Marlon Humphrey gets the pick on the slant late. And then last night, as bad as that defense was, that play that he rips the fumble out of Chase Brown's hands, this swings the game. They weren't going to stop Cincinnati's offense. Cincinnati was going to go up 28, 24-7. And then Lamar takes over. This run is one of the more remarkable plays of his career, and that says a lot. Then they go on a drive, and he finds Mark Andrews. Then, obviously, the Tylan Wallace catch and run is massive. And for a football team that played so poorly for the most part of the game, there's two ways we could look at it. We look at it with the concerned element for sure. Yeah. Like, you're not going to win a Super Bowl with this defense, and you can't beat the really good teams, at least the Kansas City potentially playing that way. But it's also like, at some point, you guys make the plays to win the game, no matter what else is happening. I do think that comeback was remarkable by the Baltimore Ravens.
The comeback was remarkable. But we also have to think about the Kyle Hamilton dropped interception against the Cleveland Browns. Sure. You can't continue to allow on that one big play. Yeah. Zach Orr is going to have to try to figure out some way that he can create stops. And I also want to point this out, Dan. Remember, you talked about the Cleveland finish, right?
Yep.
0 blitz after 0 blitz after 0 blitz. How they finished the game this week, yes, we get a play by our Darius Washington, but once again, there's no one in the middle of the field, 0 with a little help on the inside. You're going to have to stop being so predictable if you're this team, and that means individuals are going to have to make plays so you don't have to sell out.
Real quick, it's interesting that you point that out, because let's live in a world, hypothetically, where Cincinnati converts that 2-point conversion, and they throw it to Jamar, and he's not doubled. We're killing Zach Orr.
Yeah.
We're killing Zach Orr for not double-teaming him. So that's a good point. Just something to pay attention to, Ravens fans.
These head-to-heads, both of them, as billed, 17 combined passing touchdowns for opposing QBs, most ever in a single season head-to-head. Shame there had to be a loser.
Everybody's trash on defense. Everyone.
Well, hey, it's a shame for Cincinnati, especially a shame and a shock to Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow.
Yeah, it's crazy to say that. I would never in a million years expect me to play this well, and he played this well, and we still have a record like this.
Yeah, we just got to make the opportunities that are there, make the plays. You know, we did in spots and we didn't in spots tonight, and that's been the story of our season. So, I'm going to do everything in my power to continue to be ready for the opportunities that come, and try to take advantage of them.
Hey, man, did in spots, didn't in spots. Either way, Bengals are in a tough spot, 4-6. Silver lining for the orange and black, their schedule. ESPN Analytics says it's the 5th easiest run out. Projected to win 5 of their last 7. That would put him at 10-7.
Phil, I can't quit him. I can't give up on him, man.
I get it.
I don't
know why. Joe Burrow's posture. And the only game Cincinnati's projected to lose is next week on the road at the Chargers. Just flexed into Sunday Night Football. Dan, you say you can't quit him. FPI says you should like them.
Because they're an anomaly.
They're 4-6. I mean, how much confidence do you have in them actually making a playoff run?
I still do. I still believe they can. They are. You, Mina, have you guys ever seen anything like this? It's a statistical anomaly, in my opinion. You have a quarterback that is playing as good as anybody in football. I mean, he's having an MVP caliber season, his best. Like, just look where he ranks right now. Pass yards first, touchdowns first, QBR third. Look at where Jamar Chase is. This isn't
4 more touchdown catches than
and they're on the outside looking into the playoffs.
Yeah.
When you have that stat line in the NFL over the course of 2 months, you're a first-place team. You're the 1 seed. And I know we throw this kind of thing around a lot. I don't know if it's more relevant than they are 4 last plays of the game away from being 8-2.
Yeah.
And that's not hyperbole.
DPI against Kansas City?
2 times against Baltimore. You go with the 2-pointer last night. If they just make it, if that throws 2 inches lower, if they throw both flags, that should have been thrown. A couple weeks ago, they have a field goal to go win the game in overtime versus Baltimore. That doesn't go in. They win those 2 games, there's 2 more. Think about it late against Washington. Yeah. Washington floats that ball to Jaden Daniels, and it's game over. 2-score lead. If not for that, they can go on to win that game. And then, obviously, the pass interference versus Kansas City. I've never seen a team.
And the Gesicki drop against the Patriots.
That is 4 plays away from being out of the playoffs or the 1 seed or 2 seed in the playoffs when their quarterback receiver.
Hey, brother, that's the game we play.
But have you ever seen this?
That's the game we play. We've never seen a quarterback and a wide receiver play at this high of a level and then think about a team not making it to the playoffs. But you can say that, and I can say it's also football. It's also if you have Nate Wiggins one-on-one with Jamar Chase in that first matchup and you don't throw him the football because you're going to settle on kicking this field goal, then that's on you. Right?
Fair.
If you motion Tanner Hudson across the field last night and you see it's man-to-man and he's one-on-one with Brandon Stevens and you call a timeout, that's on you.
Yeah.
If it's 3rd and 2 and you go down the sideline to Jamar Chase and then you come back and go down the sideline to Ishibas on 4th and 2, that's on you.
Yes.
And so there's so much of this I do get that there's so much of this that's going on where you're like, if this, but all of those ifs are what create champions and what creates folks that are at home watching champions hoist the Lombardi. And right now, the Cincinnati Bengals are on the latter part of that, and they have to figure out a way, which I agree with you. You believe they can because the dude that's playing quarterback is dead serious that he going to keep playing this way.
100%.
And the other guy's always open.
Yeah.
So figure out a way to get some stops, make some plays differently, and nobody's going to want to play this team in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Mina?
And, like, I'm sure Ravens fans are watching those plays and saying, yeah, well, if Brandon Stevens gets both of his feet in, we're looking at a pretty different result. We're not even sure. Maybe Yoshibas didn't come down with that fourth down catch. I just think, though, with the Bengals, kind of analyzing specific plays on offense is ignoring the obvious, very glaring reason why they're in this position, why they're going to continue to be in this position for the rest of the year, which is this team has drafted and signed poorly on defense. And I always draw the contrast with the Kansas City Chiefs because they were rivals, right? These quarterbacks, Burrow, Mahomes, it's going to be head-to-head for years. Well, it's not the case because the Chiefs have been phenomenal at building their defense. Whereas watching last night, I'm watching these Bengals defenders, and I'm thinking the players who were there from the Super Bowl run have gotten older. Linebacker was a huge issue in this game, by the way. And then the players that they have drafted, particularly in that front, are not contributing.
Yeah.
Trey Hendrickson that's it. Yeah. That's all they got. So if this season fails, and it increasingly looks likely, to me, it falls entirely upon the front office for putting them in this position.
Yeah.
Fine margins we know in this league, especially at the Summit. Cincy now 1-5 in one-score games. Only Indianapolis and Jacksonville can even equal that many one-score losses. Not good company.